Guys, legal current affair is one of the most important area for any 3-year law entrances. Specifically talking to DU, this area has a lot of weightage. So today in this video, we are going to talk about the Criminal Procedure Identification Act of 2022. The Parliament has passed a number of acts, but today we are going to discuss about this very act. This act also became important because it is related to the criminal law and the procedure. So before I start my lecture on this very act, if you are new to the channel, then please make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so that you won't miss any of our future update. Now whatever I will be teaching you here in this very video, it is sufficient for the entrance point of view. And remember, in entrance they don't judge you and they don't ask you very in-depth knowledge of the act, so we are not going to go into that much of detail. Whatever relevant information is required for the entrance point of view, we will be sticking to that so that you can save your time and just channelize it in some other parts. So let's start with the very name of the act, the Criminal Procedure Identification Act of 2022. And whenever a question related to act is being asked in the exam, they first ask you the motive, the purpose of the act. And mind you guys, if you have not read the act, you can still solve it by just a little bit of common sense. Why? Just seeing the name of it. See, the name criminal, it means that this act must be related to crime. And if it's related to crime, it is never being related to civil matter. So you know that this act is only deal with the crime and not with the civil matters. Number second word is that the procedure. So you must know that it will be dealing you some procedure, some kind of a way that how the things will be done. And the most important keyword is the identification. So when you will combine these three words, you will mean that this is basically an act which is related to the procedure for the identification purpose, and it will be applicable to the criminals, to the criminal cases only. It will not be counted to the civil cases. So that is the meaning of this very act, and we have just see it by the name of it. On the face of it, prima facie, we are just getting this much of knowledge from the name that this is what is this act is all about. Now coming on to the probable questions which they ask you, they will give you like NDU or BHU, whatever, for whatever exam you are preparing. So they will give you a question like that: in 2022, which of the following act are enacted by the Parliament? In 2022, which of the following acts enacted by the Parliament? And they will give you four options like A, B, C, D, and they will give you the name of this act, they will give you the name of another three acts, and they will ask you which is the right answer. So you just need to know that what are all the acts which are being passed by the Parliament. Just have a list of them. All right, it will serve a purpose. ऐसे questions बहुत बार आते हैं and इस बार भी आएंगे. So एक question आपका ये बन जाता है. Now coming on to another question, probable question, that is that before this act, how is the entire procedure was being done, or in another language, this new act repealed which act? So the Identification of Prisoners Act of 1922 is repealed by the Criminal Procedure Identification Act. So with coming on to the new act, the another act just dead, game over. All right, that is not in use now. Now with this much, now coming on to the purpose of the act, the most important, and the questions are being asked from the purpose or the motive only. They will ask you that why this act, what is the purpose of this act? So the main purpose of this act to take the measurement. All right, so it will take the measurement, it will give authority to the police personnel and to the other authorities to take the measurement of convicted people. Now measurement for what? Why do we need measurement? We need measurement for the purpose of identification and investigation in the criminal matters. And remember the keyword, it is criminal. It means it will not be applicable to the civil laws or the civil matters. It is strictly restrained for criminal law. So this act will basically give powers to the authorities to take measurement for the purpose of identification and investigation, and it will also give power to preserve record. All right, we will see what is measurement and how to preserve record, who will preserve record, all of it we are going to look up at. But I hope अब तक आपको सब कुछ clear हो गया होगा that why this act is all about. Now after knowing this much, let's have a look up at what are the different kinds of measurement this act is talking about. So the list of measurement is on your screen. Pause the video, make a note of it, just write it somewhere so that you won't forget it at a later stage. So these are the different terms, different kinds of measurement this act is talking about, like the fingerprint impression or like the palm print, like footprint. This is very unique, right? हम सबको पता है कि fingerprint तो लिए जाते हैं but footprint also, and that is the beauty of this act, that it will include each and everything. It will include photographs, it will include iris and retina scan. You see the level, iris and retina scan, plus physical as well as biological samples. Physical means measuring the different body parts length and breadth. Alright, and when it comes to biological, it means blood sample, it means DNA sample, RNA, and different kinds of biological samples are there, so they will take up at it. Then another one is that the behavioral attributes, which will also include signature and handwriting. So the question is that do you need to remember, do you need to cramming all of these name? My answer is no, that is not required. When they will ask you the question in the exam, they will give you options, and since it is an objective one paper, questions are obviously objective MCQ based. So अगर आप इनको 2-3 बार अच्छे से पढ़ लेते हैं, अगर आप नोट्स बना लेते हैं, then the things are going to store in your subconscious mind, and then on the day of examination they automatically pop up in your mind. ठीक है, so आप इनको अच्छे से पढ़ें so that एग्ज़ाम में क्वेश्चन देखते आपको क्लिक हो जाए. That's all about it. I will not recommend you to cramming all of. Then the another aspect of this act is that whether this act is applicable for the people who are detained under any preventive detention law. This is my question, and this act says yes. It means this act will also be applicable, that is that the measurement of those people can also be taken out by the authorities which are detained under any preventive detention law. Now one question, one just extra question which I would like to ask from you guys, and I want you to give the answer of this in the comment section, that does our Constitution of India discuss anything about the preventive detention or something like that? Is our Constitution recognize preventive detention? And you have to tell whether yes or no, and if your answer is yes, then which articles? ठीक है, which articles or article of the Constitution of India talks about the preventive detention? You have to comment the answer below. Now coming on to the another aspect of the act, and that is important, that is the NCRB. And you guys have heard the name of this agency NCRB a lot number of times in the newspaper, and you have seen that in previous year questions they have also asked something about NCRB. So number one is the full form of it, that is the National Crime Record Bureau. Its main purpose is to just preserve the record of criminals. Like it maintains a bureau, like how many male prisoners are there in India, how many female prisoners are there, how many transgenders prisoners are there. This is a new thing. Alright, so you have to tell me that in which judgment Delhi High Court ordered to the central government that the data on the people, that how many of them are under the prison, will also include transgenders, and NCRB has to make a separate list, a separate column for the transgender people. This is basically a landmark judgment of the Delhi High Court, and you have to tell me the name of the party, the name of the case. These are all probable questions which can be arise. Alright, so you have to just note them down. Then coming on to the present act. So the present act, that is that the Criminal Procedure Identification Act says that NCRB is having the power, it is having the authority to preserve the record of convicts of different measurement, obviously for the 75 years. The number 75 is important. So long, 75 years तक 75 साल तक एनसीआरबी के पास ये अधिकार होंगे कि वो उन मेज़रमेंट को अपने पास आराम से प्रिजर्व रख सकती है. ऑल राइट. Then the last aspect of this act is that what if I just do not allow the authorities to take my measurement, or let's say the police came to me and they says that, sir, I have to take your measurement, and I say no, I will not give you that. So is police can take any action against me? The answer is yes, obviously. Why? Because under this act it is says that if you resist or you refuse to allow measurement to the public servant and to the police, to the authorities which are basically given power under law to do so, and if you refuse, then it is an offense and you shall be booked under section 186 of the IPC. So section 186 what says? It simply says that if you restrain any public servant to perform his public duty, you shall be booked under the section 186 of the IPC. That's all about it. Not a very big article, but still you need to remember it. Just remember the content. It says that if you restrict any public servant from discharging his lawful public functioners, then you have committed an offense under section 186 and you shall be punished as per the provisions given in the IPC. So that is all about it. And आपने देखा कि किस तरीके से by a very simple act हम काफ़ी अलग अलग एक्सपेक्ट में जा कर के भी क्वेश्चंस को बना सकते हैं. एंड दैट इज़ द ब्यूटी दैट जब भी आप लोग किसी एक्ट को कवर आउट करते हैं, जस्ट डोंट मियर स्टिक टू दैट. उसके आसपास के जितने भी प्रोबेबल क्वेश्चंस होते हैं आप उनको भी एक बार देखें, वहाँ से भी वो लोग क्वेश्चन पूछ सकते हैं. एंड जस्ट वन थिंग दैट गाइज, आप 2-4 चीज़ों का एक्स्ट्रा ध्यान रख सकते हैं. लाइक क्योंकि ये एक्ट बना है तो आपको ये देखेंगे कि एक बिल से एक्ट बनने तक क्या क्या चीज़ें इन्वॉल्व होती हैं और एक बिल कब एक्ट बनता है एंड व्हाट इज़ द रोल ऑफ द प्रेसिडेंट इन दिस एंटायर प्रोसीजर. आप ये ठीक है. सो द वीटो पावर ऑफ द प्रेसिडेंट, ऑल ऑफ दीज बिकेम इम्पोर्टेंट. उसके साथ यू नो दैट देयर आर 4 टाइप्स ऑफ एक्ट. सो आपको डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ बिल्स देखने होंगे, लाइक ऑर्डिनरी बिल, मनी बिल, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बिल, फाइनेंस बिल एंड ऑल राइट. So provisions, the procedure, everything. So with this I close my today's lecture. I hope you guys like it. and इसी तरीके के more legal updates के लिए आप मेरे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर सकते हैं एंड बेल आइकन को हिट कर सकते हैं, जिससे कि आप आने वाली कोई भी फ्यूचर की अपडेट को मिस ना करें. इसी के साथ मिलते हैं नेक्स्ट वीडियो में. जब तक ले टाटा, बाय बाय, थैंक यू, टेक केयर, शाइनिंग ऑफ.